This is the new Sony Burano, their new 8K cinema camera that is designed to sit in between their high-end Venice cameras and the FX9 and FX6. It is easily one of the most sought after cameras at the moment, and it is now finally shipping to customers. So in our first week with ProV's demo unit, we wanted to take it out and spend some time getting to know the camera by actually filming with it ourselves. So this isn't going to be a video going over all of the features of the Burano. Instead, this is just some of our first thoughts and experiences after actually using it ourselves for the first time. So we went down and spent the day with our friends at Wood Oaks Farm, a local sustainable farm which is owned by the Soil Association Land Trust. They actually have a hub of small local businesses there, which we try and support via this channel, providing them with footage which they can use for their marketing while we're making these videos and testing these cameras. It's part of our way of giving back to the local community. So to put the Burano through its paces, we spent the morning with the brewery on site, the fantastically named Creative Juices Brewing Company, and then the afternoon with resident artist Romy in her art studio. The whole day was working really fast as a solo operator, but we tried to do two distinct styles of filming. Let's start by taking a look at the artist piece. So for this, we wanted to prioritize image quality. So this was all in the full sensor 8.6K mode using XOCN RAW recording. We kept the camera on the tripod and used the Nissi Athena Cinema Primes, which we've been really impressed with, and an Atomos Shinobi 7 on the top to monitor. The camera was a dream to film with, but it was in the grade that it really started to shine in this art piece for me. This was a particularly challenging subject to grade, especially for me, as I'm by no means a professional colorist. These paints that Romy uses are metallic-based acrylics and have a real shine to them, which can very easily push the saturation of these strong, vivid colors into just wild and uncontrollable places on the vectorscope. But with XOCN RAW, all of the data was there. It was incredibly easy to just jump into those hue and saturation controls in Resolve and bring them back under control to wherever I needed them to be. This 8.6K image is fantastic. It is far above anything that the FX6 or FX9 can do in terms of image quality. And playback also really impressed me. This is all being run on just an M1 Max 16-inch MacBook Pro, and it worked perfectly fine. For the brewery, we went a completely different route. We kept camera in a shoulder-mounted TV dock style setup, with their Sony 28-135mm f4 servo zoom attached. all very fast paced and up on the shoulder, similar to how the FX9 often gets used for TV insert segments. Picture the piece in a talk show or a cookery show where we see the chef at work in their own kitchen, or maybe visiting a local supplier, for example. Segments like that. The goal here was to see how well the Burano would work in that kind of environment, ergonomically out of the box, in the same way that people are already using the FX9 and FX6 all across the country. This was all done in the 6K full frame crop mode, but actually recording that as 4K XAVC because that's the same as the FX9 and FX6 use.
The light is fading fast from this old town, we gotta go. Our bags are packed, so what we waiting for? There's no point in delaying what we both already know. Escape this time with me. Escape this time with me. We could rent a room and watch the stars dance round the moon. Fall asleep to the sounds of the sea. With you right by my side, it's such a sweet life. Escape this time with me. Escape this time with me. Escape this time with me.
So this one is a fascinating one for me. It's definitely not the way to get the best image out of the camera. That would definitely be the raw XOCN 8.6K. But the camera did work really well in this fast-paced, shoulder-mounted environment. It just felt like I was using an FX9, but with some noticeable improvements like the improved grip arm and simplified button structure on the side, and menus with like that quick access home screen. I used that a lot. The viewfinder was also really useful and nice to use. I actually really like the mirror design as it keeps the camera as close to my head as possible when up on my shoulder, which is something I think that a lot of people have overlooked when they're talking about this viewfinder. It was practically touching my ear when up on my shoulder. And that's important as it means I wasn't fighting the camera to keep it up there because it's slightly too far away from my head. Even without a rig and shoulder pad attached, it did feel quite comfortable to use. There is an air vent right here on the side of the camera where your ear goes though. Luckily, it's a cold intake air vent, not a hot air exhaust vent. So it doesn't blow into your ear or anything uncomfortable like that. But you can hear the fan going on in a quiet environment. I didn't really notice it though while we were actually filming with it. The camera was also incredibly fast to use overall, and the IBIS really helped to keep things from looking too shaky. Now, once in post, the image was much closer to what you would expect from the FX9 or the FX6 than it was in the XOCN test, but I guess that's to be expected. But I did think in many ways it felt like it took the strengths of each of those two cameras, combined them, and then added that little bit more detail and a little bit more stability from the IBIS. So I do think it is definitely a step up, but it would be fascinating to do some side-by-side comparisons in terms of just pure image quality in that 4K XAVC mode. It definitely felt like a step up, just not as much of a wild step up as the 8.6K RAW was, of course. Now the camera does draw much more power than the FX6 or the FX9, but with these 140 watt-hour SWIP batteries, we were getting about 3 hours of runtime, so we had no problems. One battery for the morning, one for the afternoon, and we were sorted on a simple shoot like this. The camera could definitely have been improved by having a rig. I actually really like Sony's new arm system. The grip is the same as the FX9 one, but that's a bit of a if it ain't broke, don't fix it situation. It just makes sense and is very easy to use as a control grip itself. And the actual arm is much improved and a very quick and easy to adjust system with this lever on it. It is a big step forward over the FX9 arm and the FS7 arm, and I even found it easier than the popular third-party ones like the Shape arms. The viewfinder attachment though definitely needs a rig to improve it. If you plan on using this viewfinder, you really need to be able to take it off and then use the monitor without unscrewing it and screwing it back on to change its angle. It is just a faff with this screw, and it's the last thing you want to be doing in the heat of the moment on an actual job. We're going to take a look at some rigging options for the camera soon to help customers choose between them, because it definitely needs something up there. And of course, a base plate and a shoulder pad is going to be a must-have for most people. The other thing I'd love from a rig would be a handle on this side for when you aren't using it up on your shoulder. But that's something I haven't seen many rigs do yet, probably because of the placement of these XLR ports. But hopefully we can find some kind of a solution for that as well, so that you've got something to grip onto without the optional grip attached. For media, Sony say you should use their own tough cards with this VPG 400 speed rating. If you use anything else, you get a little pop-up on screen which says not guaranteed media. But we haven't had any problems so far. For this shoot, we purposefully went to the other extreme and used the cheapest CF Express card which we sell, which is this Angelbird 512GB SE card. And it handled the whole shoot fine, even the 8.6K XOCN. Although we were doing lots of short clips though, rather than anything with long run times. So I don't want to say that you're never going to run into issues using other CF Express cards. Sony must be saying that for a reason. But cheaper cards like this one, they're certainly not useless with the Burano. So this has just been our first impressions from our first real shoot out with the Burano. And overall, we've been really impressed with the image out of this camera. I've been asked by nearly every customer that I've spoken to about this camera, does it feel like a mini Venice or a higher end FX9? And it's an impossible question really to answer, because it does genuinely feel like both. I guess the best answer I've come up with is, to me, physically when you're using it, it feels like an upgraded FX9. But in image quality and post, it definitely feels more like a mini Venice if you're using those higher quality, higher resolution RAW modes. And I do think that is a really good place to be in for a camera. I think this is going to be a really good workhorse camera for a lot of working professionals out there over the next few years. So if you have any questions or suggestions for what you would like to see us cover in future videos, please do let us know in the comment section. And if you're considering the Burano or any of the other Sony cameras for your own work, please do get in touch with our sales team who can set up a demo for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.